How's it going? My name is Devin. Welcome to my brand new channel. I've been thinking about doing YouTube for quite some time. If you know me, I've talked about it a few times, asked a couple people a couple things. I've even done a couple polls on my Instagram to gauge how people would react to see if anybody would be interested in it. And I'm finally thinking that now is a good time. I recently picked up this 1998 Toyota Cresta, and it's underrepresented on YouTube. I feel like everybody just makes content on JZX 100s, which is good because obviously they're fantastic cars. Who doesn't want a 1J? But people don't really post anything about GX 100s, which is what mine is. And it's fair, they're not cool. They're slow, and most of the time, nobody really does anything with them besides swapping them out. And I'm not saying that that's off the table. I believe that in the future, there will be a swap in this car, and it will be a JZ of some kind. Is that gonna be a 1J? Is it gonna be a 2J? I'm unsure, but we'll see what the future holds. But time being, we're gonna make this car nice, and we're gonna do it the way that I build my cars, and I'll show you guys my cars right now. My Toyota Cresta. So I bought it back in June, late June of this year, 2024, and the car didn't come in until early to mid-August. It landed here on the 5th, and it cleared customs about a week and a half later, and I didn't really have to wait that long. It shipped out within a month, and it took 2 weeks to get here, so not that bad. And honestly, it was a great purchase for the amount of money that I'm into this car. It's only got 60,000 miles, and it's a fantastic daily. I drove it all the way back from Tacoma, Washington, where it was picked up at the port by my importer. Shout out Desmond. And drove it back, did fucking fantastic. Took quite some time. It was a 20-hour drive. I live out in Wyoming, and it was a great car. I'm so glad that I made this purchase. Just right now, it's a little bit boring. If you saw in those shots, I'm a big stance guy, so you'll be seeing a lot of that on this channel. This car included will become a stance car. Not often do I see people really stancing these out on YouTube, and like I was saying, GX 100s are pretty underrepresented. A lot of Russian people do a lot of things with GX 100s and the 1GFE. Most people who do anything with the 1GFE are IS 200 owners over in Australia or the UK, and that might be a play for what I do with this car. I'm planning on turboing the 1GFE before I actually swap it out. I've heard that they don't handle any power, and I've heard that it's hard to make any power with them, but honestly, I just want to see what it'd do. I know people over in England boost these motors in their Lexuses, and I've never really seen anybody do it in the States, obviously because we have never got any, but people don't even buy these GX 100s and do anything with them. And I feel like it would be great for some people who pick up these cars at amazing prices. I mean, shit, you can find these cars at auction and even at dealerships in Japan for under $2,000, and you could have this thing for $5,000 or less shipped. And I feel like not a lot of people give them a chance because they're not a JZX, and so they don't think that they're worth it or anything like that. So that's going to be part of the process with this thing. Obviously, right now it is an automatic, and that's not good enough for us. So the whole goal with this car is it will be a stance car. And to what regard, I don't know. I've only ever seen 2 or 3 big camber Crestas on the internet, and I think they look really good. But big camber isn't my thing. I'm thinking I'm going to try to shoot for around 11 to 12 degrees, maybe 10 to 12 degrees of camber on this car. And I just want it to flow as nice as I can. I haven't done any research on what wheels you can put on this, how aggressive you can get. More than likely, I'm going to put some 10 wides on here, some 18s, and see what I can make it do. Fitment is undecided. We'll see when we get there if I want to tuck or if I want to just go fender to lip. I'm a big fender to lip guy, but as you'll see on my other car, it is tucking. My S13 coupe. So it's a 1989 and I bought it in January of 2023, and this is what it looked like when I bought it. Pretty rough, honestly, but I bought it out in Utah. Well, I paid a guy to trailer it out from Utah to me. At the time, I was ecstatic. I mean, this is top 5 car all time for me. This is one of my dream cars, and I've been waiting to own this car forever. And the guy hit me up, told me he had this car, and he sent me some pictures, and I was like, this one's a little rough. Then he told me that it was going to come with an SR, and he could either get it running for a little bit more than what I paid, or he can bring it to me and I would have to finish the wiring on it. That's what I did. I saved myself some money, and I immediately got to work on this thing. I mean, within 2 weeks, I had almost everything for this car ordered all my gauges, new wiring harness, ordered my whole front end swap because I couldn't run around with those pop-ups. Not a big pop-up guy, don't hate me. Only works on FCs and FDs for me. Miatas are all right, but teetering the line. For a while there, it was wrapped, and it just had some monoblock GMRs on it, and I was in love with the car. I think it looked perfect, and I was a huge fan, and I actually had Chevy Silverado headlights on it because I could not afford brakes at the time. Time went on, and I started to fall out of love with wrap, and I decided that it was time to paint this car. And when it came to painting this car, a big mix-up happened. So I was supposed to paint this car blue and silver two-tone, and you may be saying, well, it is, but the color on top was an accident. It was supposed to be TV3 blue, which is this color. It's from Autech S15s. Some other S15s I believe came with it, but I know like Jimmy Oaks's S15 is that color. And that's what this was supposed to be. But when I told my uncle the paint code for it, I accidentally said TV4, which is this color that's on it right now. And it is off of an Xterra and a Pathfinder, I believe, from 2000 to 2006 or something like that. I haven't done a whole lot of research on it. But when he sent me the picture of the fender, I was like, I don't know what happened, but this is not the color. And I went back and forth on it. I looked at it a bunch of times, and it was a battle between if I wanted to spend another $1,000 to actually make it TV3 or just live with this color. And when I went and saw it for the first time, I knew this was the color for me. Just everything I could have ever wanted. It looks so good. It fits these wheels that I have on it, which are OEM 3-piece converted Maxima wheels. Camaro Boy 86 made them a while ago, and they were just for sale in Colorado, and I traded my wheels for them, and I ended up putting these on, and it didn't really work with the wrap, and that's why I decided to paint it. It's been the best car ever. I painted the bay before I actually painted the car. I've gotten really into polishing lately, and on this car specifically, I ended up polishing my valve cover and all my intercooler piping. There's a few other things I've been contemplating on doing. I've been thinking about just doing my whole intercooler's core. I've been thinking about taking my intake manifold off and doing that as well, doing my OEM one. I've been thinking about getting a Greddy intake manifold as well and sanding it and polishing it as well. And my next polishing project will actually go on to my third car that I had. And this is my third car. It's a little tight in here. Some mishaps with my shop happened, and this is my 2002 WRX. So this car actually has been around for a long time in my life. I bought this car when I was 19, and it was really what I consider my first car. I had a Pontiac Sunfire and a Bug-Eye as well before this, but both of them were pretty shitty cars, and my Bug-Eye was a RS, so it was non-turbo and it was automatic and it was slow. And I bought this car out in Idaho, and I was driving it back. This was my first manual car that I ever owned, and I was overjoyed. I mean, this was probably the ultimate car for me at the time. Obviously, I wanted an STI, but I always wanted a Bug-Eye, and I just felt so attached to them. And obviously, if you know anything about Subarus, STIs didn't come until '04 and the Blah-Bye, and obviously they're still not old enough to import a STI today. Some people can do it, but not legally. And I've gone through many phases of this car. For a long time, I really wanted it to be pretty fast. I wanted to make like 500, but pretty soon I realized that making a fast Subaru is pretty expensive. Over the years, I just slowly started to do things to it. Put my first set of wheels on within the first year of owning it, and it took me about 1.5 to 2 years to even put coilovers on it. And once I did, I mean, it made a world of a difference. This is what it used to look like when I first slammed it. I had teehees on it, and I couldn't be happier with the car. I ran that setup for about 2 years until I finally ended up stancing it, which was controversial for me at the time. I also had a turbo Honda Civic at the time. Here's a picture of it. And I never really was into stance. I thought it was kind of dumb, and a lot of my friends around me also thought it was pretty stupid. And slowly, it just wore me down. Like, I started to see a bunch of, oddly enough, S13s and a bunch of Subarus that were slammed and cambered out, and I just bought my first set of wide wheels. I had some 10.5 wides, and I threw a shit ton of stretch on them, and I ended up stancing it. And I maybe only had 3 degrees of camber at the time, but it made me fall in love with camber and stancing cars. Slowly, I got better wheels. After that, I ended up getting a set of work Rezacs for it. And these were my first ever 3-piece wheels. These were my first ever authentic wheels. And I love those wheels. It took me forever to muster up the courage to actually buy the damn shit for it to be rebuilt. And I bought them off my friend who had a wrecked S2000. And yeah, I just rebuilt them over the winter, slapped it on, and I got all the way up to, I think it was 13 degrees of camber in the rear and 11 up front. Here's a few pictures, and here's this rolling video that my friend took. And I was in love with it, but I was scared to drive it, which was devastating because I love driving this car. As obnoxiously loud as it is, I still think it's probably the best sounding car that I own. I just ended up committing. After that, I sold the Rezacs and partially traded them for a set of D9Rs. And I had them for a few months, but they weren't really what I imagined. I thought the car looked fantastic. Here's a few pictures of it. And I thought it was everything I could ever want. I love those wheels since the day I bought my Subaru. They were my dream wheels, but they just weren't it for me. And I sold them, and then I got some GMR Evokes. And this is when I started to really feel more comfortable driving around stance cars. I had my Nissan with a little bit of camber. I had done a few Hondas. Here's a few pictures of them. Did a EK hatch. I've done a coupe. I've done a bunch of garbage. And I ended up camering this one out. And late last year in August, once I got the wheels, I really feel like the car needed a different look. And for a long time, I had wanted to paint this car. On the roof, there was a little bit of rust, and the paint underneath my wrap was god awful, and it just needed it, and it was time. And when I was buying my Subaru originally, the only thing that I wanted was a 2011 Plasma Blue Pearl STI. That was my dream car, and somewhat still is today, but I ended up buying some Plasma Blue paint for this and got it done right before Estes Park. If you guys know, live in Colorado, shout out Pete. And I ended up painting this car, my first time ever painting a car. I didn't do very much. I painted a few things. I didn't paint the whole car. My uncle helped me, but I did do quite a bit of the smaller stuff. I ended up painting my side skirts and some parts of my bumpers and whatnot, and it came out like this. This is everything I could have ever wanted out of this car. It's fantastic. Right now it's mainly stock. It's just got some bolt-ons, but not even upgraded turbo. But in the future, that will definitely be on the channel. I guess that's about all of what I can show you for right now. We can talk about plans next. So what could you expect on this channel? Stance content, really. I have big plans for that Cresta, and obviously my S13 and my Bug-Eye are pretty far along. I'm just excited to share with you guys my adventures with these cars. Honestly, I've been thinking about, like I said, doing this for quite some time. I just never felt like the time was right. I've always wanted to share with everyone my cars, because I feel like I'm doing things that not a lot of people do. And it's kind of cliche. Everybody thinks they're original, but I feel like I've done some things that people haven't seen before, and I want to share that, especially with the Cresta. Being a GX100, not a lot of people doing a lot of GX100 content out there, or even really doing anything with them. And so what you'll eventually see is that Cresta content. Soon, hopefully, you will see these bad boys, a new set of Rezacs, be built for my Subaru / all of my cars. More than likely, I'm going to start a collection of just 3-piece wheels that are all in the same spec, and then I'm gonna just swap them all out on all of the cars. My Nissan will mainly stay on them maximum wheels, but between my Cresta and my Subaru, I'm gonna try and build a bunch of 18x10 wheels that I can just take on and off, and will require minimal camber adjustment, if any. Gonna try to keep them all around the same offset. And first up will be these. My plan for these is to get these powder coated. Right now, these two are the original like chrome faced finish, and I love that. But I have two of these like brown powder coated ones that I'm not a really big fan of the color. So I want to get them all stripped down. More than likely what will end up happening is I will get them sandblasted, and then I will try my hand at sanding these all the way up to where they're mirror finish. I know that'll take a lot of time and a lot of effort, and if it doesn't turn out how I want, probably just going to re-powder coat them. Haven't decided on a color yet. More than likely it'll be silver. I have seen a bunch of stuff being thrown around on the internet of chrome finish for powder coating, or I know there's a black out there that almost looks like a mirror just darkened, and maybe I'll consider that. I do have somebody in town that does a lot of powder coating, and he's shown me a few things and a few options. I really just want to try and get these polished. I really feel like that'd be a good look for them, especially on my Subaru. And hopefully soon that will come to fruition. I'm just kind of lacking on buying all the wheel parts for it. It's just a lot of money. And hopefully soon as well, we will actually move all my cars into my new shop. Hopefully that comes in the next week or two. Videos will start to be coming out more frequent once I get into that shop. Right now, things are going to be quite slow. I don't really have any more events this year that I want to attend. It's not much for me to do in town. A lot of my car friends actually live out of state. They live in Colorado, which is it's a 2-hour drive from Denver to me, and a lot of my friends live around Denver, northern Colorado, Fort Collins, Greeley, Loveland, that kind of area. So it'll be a lot of working on my cars to get them ready for next year, which hopefully will include a trip out to Utah for Scrape Fest. I know a few of my friends are going to be out there, and I'd love to see them. But I got to get one of these cars prepped and ready for it. I'm just excited to start this journey. I've been thinking about doing this for so long, and I feel like now's finally the time, and I'm so excited to share this with you. Thank you guys for tuning into my new channel, and if you like to see more, please subscribe, show me some love. Tell me where you came from in the comments, how you found out about this. If you've known me for a long time, if you're new to me, if you saw me post this on Facebook, or if you see me share this on Instagram and you've been a long time follower of my Subaru page, just let me know. I'd love to let you to find out what you guys would like to see in the future, especially related to the GX100. I want to try to make this as unique of a channel as I can, showing things that not a lot of people do, making everything more involved. I want to show you guys the full length process of a lot of things, like especially with sanding these wheels down and getting them polished, stancing a GX100, turboing a GX100, swapping a GX100, all of those things I'd love to show you guys. So if you guys could share this with your friends, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.